Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles and cousins, of course, or if you prefer, grandmothers and grandfathers, and baseball fans everywhere, welcome to Podcast Monday. Yep, it's come around the bend again, and we are happy to welcome you into this edition of another Valley Baseball League video podcast. Tonight we're going to shift gears a little bit. We are going to take a behind-the-scenes look at the Newmarket Rebels and introduce you to their play-by-play announcer, Mr. Dennis Atwood. In the interest of full disclosure, I do need to let you know that I met Dennis several years ago, maybe more than a decade and a half ago. Anyway, I used to work with horses, and I met Dennis taking care of his ponies. And it turned out that Dennis was into the Newmarket Rebels, and inadvertently I got involved in the Newmarket Rebels. No connection between Dennis and myself. I kind of knew about it, stumbled into it, and then fell in love with it. And here I am working with Dennis again. That said, I want to take a brief second to see and to hope you guys have had a chance to take a look at our All-Star Week. We started off on Friday. We shared the 2018 All-Star Game. On Saturday, we shared the 2018 showcase game between the Valley Baseball League and the Florida Collegiate Summer League. On Sunday, we shared the Game 2 of that series in 2018, the Valley League versus the Sun Belt League. Really exciting stuff there. We're playing a little trivia. There were 8 players that came off of that 2018 team and either went on to the pros or have signed to play pro ball. So the question is, can you name them? The first 8 people who do name them and send us an email to vbleague@isomermedia.com. That's vbleague@isomermedia.com. We're going to get some great VBL swag. Anyway, if you want to play, check out those games. They're on YouTube. You can catch them. We still have 3 great All-Star games to bring you. Starting tomorrow night, we're going to bring you the 2019 Valley League All-Star Game. And following that, on Wednesday, we'll bring you the showcase game number 1, Valley League versus the Southern Collegiate Baseball League. And then on Thursday, we'll wrap it all up with game 2 of the showcase series from 2019 with the Valley Baseball League facing the Florida Collegiate Summer League again. Anyway, some great baseball action there. Encourage you to take part in our trivia quiz for the 2018 showcase games. Anyway, hope you are enjoying that as much as we are. It was a blast to put it up there. And hopefully everybody had a great time looking at the first 3 games, 3 more games to come. On Friday, we'll resume our game of the night. We'll continue our 2020 Rewind season with day 31. We're fastly approaching the replay of the playoffs. They should begin on or around the 21st of July. So just look forward to some great Valley League baseball. Like you, we'd much rather be watching new games, but it's the best we can do, and we're getting a lot of great comments. People seem to really be enjoying this. Tonight we're going to do something special. We're going to take a peek behind the scenes with the Newmarket Rebels, and we're going to introduce you to Dennis Atwood. One of the things we're hoping to do in the future podcast is not only introduce you to the great players from this league, but also give you an idea of what it takes to make this happen. Several podcasts ago, we introduced you to the Neal family. They head up to Strasburg Express. Highly encourage you to take a look at that. They have a team of 65 volunteers who helped them make the Strasburg Express possible. Now we talked to the Fuller family. They're working on their 4th generation of a baseball family who bring the Valley League to life. They started in Luray, moved to Charlestown, and are now in Purcellville, owning and operating the Cannons. So please check them out. Anyway, this is a chance to meet one of our play-by-play announcers. There are many. We want to introduce you to the others in the press box at the other teams as well. But tonight is your night to meet Mr. Dennis Atwood. It's my pleasure to turn this over to Erin Summers, who had a chance to sit down with Dennis not too long ago. Hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Hi, Valley League fans. It's Erin Summers, your Valley League reporter. I am really excited to be joined by Dennis Atwood. He is your longtime Rebels play-by-play webcaster. He has so much knowledge on the Rebels team, the Valley League, and baseball in general. So we're going to dive right in. I'm jealous about where you are. How are you doing, and where are you coming from?
Good morning, Erin, and thank you. It's especially rich to be on the broadcasting web deck at Rebel Park at the northeast corner in Newmarket, Virginia, because it's the closest we can come to a game this season, which, as everybody knows, has been canceled. The weather's delicious. It would be early in the day, but it's about 65 degrees and low humidity. So the web deck is the scene where we try to bring the play-by-play action to our audience, and I've been doing that since 2014, and I'm still learning. So let me describe what for people to see now, which many folks over the years have described as the most picturesque baseball field in a wide region. We're facing due east, and behind us is Massanutten Mountain, which makes a great backdrop for Rebel Park, and the line of trees. And over that mountain is Page County, where is the county seat, Luray. There was the Luray Wranglers until 2012, and they had to fold. It's on the smaller side of parks in the league, but not the smallest. Down each fair line is 322 feet. In straightaway center field is 367. In right center, mostly toward right field, is 345. In the left field is 381 feet. The biggest poke in the park is under that happily large scoreboard at 385 feet. So we hope you can see the fence in right center field. We know you can't see the individual advertising signs, and we want to thank again the 45 sponsors that do have outfield signs here at Rebel Park. But generally where I'm pointing, there is a green and yellow sign and then a white and blue sign. The tree that's to the left of that gap. That white and blue sign is the uniform image #1 of the Legend of the Valley, Mo Weber. That's the only jersey that's ever been retired so far by the Rebels. And we can talk a little later about the fantastic career with the Rebels and somewhat before he got here, Mr. Mo Weber. That's also the scene of what we call the hit of the decade for the Rebels up in that tree. And we can talk about that, what happened there on August 7, 2018, a bit later. And on this field, many future major leaguers and minor leaguers played. And just to mention a few, in 1981, both John Kruk, who went on after only 3 weeks here with the Rebels, and way before my time with the Rebels, which I said started in 2014. John Kruk was here, was drafted by the San Diego Padres, went on to have a significant major league career, also with the Philadelphia Phillies, and is one of the more colorful baseball color analysts for ESPN and Philadelphia TV stations. And Tom Browning was pitching here for the Rebels in 1981. Tom Browning went on to be with the Cincinnati Reds. And in 1988, on, get the right date, September 16th, Tom Browning pitched the 12th perfect game in Major League history. That's pretty amazing that it took till 1988 to get to the 12th. Former Rebel, Brad Ziegler employed his sidearm submariner pitching here and went on for a long Major League career. But as a rookie, he set an amazing record of 39 1/3 consecutive shutout innings to start his career, reached that mark on September 28, 2008, broke a record of 25 consecutive shutout innings for a rookie that was set in 1907 by the Phillies' George McQuillan. And in 2003 and 2004, Brett Gardner sharpened his skills here on his way to the New York Yankees, and at 39, he's still a starting outfielder. That's just a few of the players that we've enjoyed here over the years who used the Valley League for what its real purpose is, a gateway to the majors.
It's an incredible list of players that have come from the Valley League. And I know you mentioned Brett Gardner. He's somebody that should have been playing this summer, just like everybody else in baseball. And instead, he is back home with his dad working on his family's farm. So quite a difference between working on a farm and playing baseball. But
that's great that you got an update on Brett. That's great, Erin. Yeah. So speaking of notable achievements, Rebel Park is also the home, the physical location of the Valley League Hall of Fame, which is still under construction, and it is down at ground level to my left. We are 8 feet elevated here. And there have been 30 inductees into the Valley League Hall of Fame in its first 4 years of operations. And it's also, of course, headquarters for the Rebels family. And Bruce Alger, one of his main mottos and principles is that every person, be it a concession stand worker, a field maintenance person, the parent of a player, of course, as well as the players and coaches, the host family coordinators, everybody connected with the Rebels is part of the Rebels family. And I think that's just a really great approach to volunteer, community-based, nonprofit baseball.
Dennis, you've mentioned the Hall of Fame. You've mentioned the coach, Mo Weber, there at the Rebels. Now, what makes Mo Weber such a special story here in the Valley League?
Well, Mo is indeed quite a story, and people tend to continue to remember him and to cherish their relationship with him if they got to know him personally. And he truly earned the nickname, if you will, or the moniker Legend of the Valley. Let me tell you a little more about Mo's life story, and this is condensed. But Mo Weber was born in 1923 in New Jersey. He was an Army veteran of World War II, and he served in Europe. And he spent time in Hungary and what was then Czechoslovakia. Mo used his GI benefits to earn his bachelor's degree at Winona State Teachers College, now Winona University in Minnesota. And while he was a student, he also coached the Warriors baseball team. And after he graduated, 1946 to 50, and he's been inducted into their Hall of Fame. That was 2008. Mo coached in Colorado, South Dakota, and Missouri before taking head coaching position at the College of William and Mary, and he was there in 2 stints in 1965 and then again 1978 to 81. Of course, there in Williamsburg, Virginia. He was the Rebels hitting coach, and for 2 years he was our head coach. That's a 17-year span, 1993 to 2010. In 2008, the league named its Head Coach of the Year or Manager of the Year award for him. So it's the Mo Weber Manager of the Year award. And he was inducted in the Valley League Hall of Fame with its first class. And in 2017, he passed just beyond his 96th birthday, July 26, 2019. And the Rebels already had a tradition of having Mo Weber birthday night where we'd serve a very special cake, always nice. We're going to continue that tradition on our home game that's closest to Mo's birthday, which is actually falls on June 24th. So our closest game to his birthday. We look forward to continuing that tradition. Also in the Valley League Hall of Fame is our president and general manager, Bruce Alger. I mentioned about his philosophy about the Rebels family and his attitude toward when players phone in after the season or go and see him personally on their way departing Rebel Park, they thank him, and he in turn thanks them for choosing the Rebels to give them the opportunity to advance in their baseball aspirations. So there's a couple of very fine gentlemen. Of course, one has passed and one is very much still with us. Bruce Alger started working with the Rebels at about age 15 as a bat boy and helper around the park, and 55 years, quite a tenure.
Now, how did you start your career with the Rebels and get involved in Valley League baseball?
Well, after a 40-year federal civil service career, which I concluded in early 2007, in 2008, I noticed a little box ad in the regional newspaper here, the Northern Virginia Daily. It serves several counties here in the Northern Shenandoah Valley. A box ad in the sports section for sports writer Stringer. And I thought, wow, that sounds like something I'd like to do. I've always enjoyed sports, baseball being way at the top, number one, from back in AM radio days when I could listen to many major league teams at night from my home in Silver Spring, Maryland, then my Babe Ruth League, American Legion high school career, and that's kind of where it ended as a left-handed pitcher that used what they now call a two-finger fastball. Then it was called a screwball. yeah, lefty would break away from the right-handed batter. So I was doing that, and they took me on as a rookie sports writer for the Northern Virginia Daily. And among my assignments in that time, from 2008 to 2013, was to really, in summer, the biggest, most enjoyable thing to do was cover Valley League baseball games. And in the newspaper's area of service, the Newmarket Rebels and the Woodstock River Bandits were on the coverage list. So I got to cover several games here at Rebel Park, got to know, of course, the head coaches, the players really well, but also the staff and leadership. And from the time I first met Bruce Alger, and he explained that Rebels family concept and how he always told players who expressed their gratitude for the Rebels being part of their developmental experience, he thanked them for choosing the Newmarket Rebels. So those two principles were very magnetizing for me. And along the way, I would sit up here on the web deck when none other than Austin Gisriel and Charlie Dodge were doing the audio webcasting. Austin, you've seen in a couple of episodes of this podcast series, and principally connected to the Rebels as the author of Safe at Home, the 2009 season of the Rebels. And I've read a lot of sports books, Erin, and a lot of baseball books. And I will tell you, in my informed, biased opinion, that Austin's work on that book, one couldn't do better to describe on the field the players, off the field the community, than in Safe at Home. So a big appropriate plug. Thanks again, Austin, for that. Well, Austin and Charlie, after the 2013 season, decided they didn't want to do that anymore, the webcasting, and asked if I might want to do it. I jumped on that really quickly, and I will tell you, it's a gift that has kept on giving every game that I've been a webcaster for. So that's how that happened, and it was a great path that I didn't necessarily, anticipate. But to do this with our JMU interns every summer, to migrate from audio only into Facebook Live, so it's been great, and that's that story.
I hate to do this, but I really need to stop this conversation just for a second to take a few minutes to encourage you all to like, subscribe, and share. If you like what you see here, please share it with your friends and family and other baseball fans around the country. We are doing this to make people aware of what happens in the Valley League, and without your help, we can't do that. A lot of great action, a lot of great players have come out of this league and are currently playing in the majors or have played in the majors, and we want everyone to know about it. So if you'll help by liking, subscribing, and sharing, we'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, we highly encourage your participation there. You can hit us up at vbleague@isomermedia.com. That's vbleague@isomermedia.com. All right, now we got to pay a little tribute to the sponsors who help make all of this possible. Here's Erin.
We'd first like to thank New York Times best-selling historical romance author and VBL Uber sponsor Grace Burrows. For 3 years now, she has helped make our live streams possible. Be sure to visit graceburrows.com. That's Grace, BURROWES.com, to say thank you. And please note that Grace is wishing everyone in the VBL family the best of happily ever afters. We'd like to thank the Miller Auto Group, proud sponsor of the Northern Division. Although car buying may not be a necessity at the time, the Miller Auto Group would like you to know that they are here for you whenever you are in need. If a new or used vehicle is not the priority, but service is, feel free to schedule an appointment online at your convenience. Visit them at drivemiller.com. That's drivemiller.com to find the sales, service, or parts you need. We'd also like to thank 47, sponsor of the official on-field cap of the Valley Baseball League. Shop your favorite headwear and apparel styles at 47brand.com. They also make official Major League stuff too. So if you're missing your favorite MLB team right now, just think 47brand.com. We'd like to thank Stephen Toyota in Harrisonburg, proud sponsor of the Valley Baseball League Southern Division. Save time when shopping for your new Toyota, Toyota Certified Used, and Stevens Select vehicle when you start your deal online with Stevens Toyota's online shopper system. Visit us today at StephenToyota.com. That's StephenToyota.com.
We'd also like to thank Rawlings, maker of the official baseball of the Valley League and Major League Baseball. And finally, we'd like to thank Signs USA for providing awards and banners to the league. When you need a sign, award, or banner, thank Signs USA. SignsUSVA.com.
All right, we've taken care of all the business we need to attend to. It's time to get back to Erin's conversation with Dennis Atwood.
What are some of the big moments that you've seen or been a part of there at Rebels Park?
Well, as far as the technology, before we get into some game action, to migrate from adequate audio via a firm that we still use, the Stretch Internet, to high quality audio just by the purchase of a $13 USB plug-in device. And I might mention that baseball is particularly suitable for audio treatment, the pace of the game, as opposed to a lot more difficult, I think, to do basketball or even hockey, just the audio part. So it was fortunate that it was baseball, that the audio was used. In 2017, we decided as a team that we'd start Facebook Live video. And that was a real learning experience as far as setting up things and what the vulnerabilities of the internet for the webcasting, and then to the multi-camera treatment that Graham Knight and Isomer Media in 2018 launched an enhancement of webcasting league-wide, and especially the multi-camera use in the 2018 championship series. So there's the technology piece, and that's been a parallel journey on its own. But really, the threshold on that was once we went Facebook Live and the viewers would comment, and we could see those comments and interact with our fans pretty regularly. We couldn't catch every comment, but to be able to chat with them, text them back or say something on the air was a whole new dimension. And we've had viewers from Australia, Kuwait, Canada, and Puerto Rico, among other places. So that's on the technology side, give you the flavor of that. And my job, I consider my job being the interface between the action on the field and our fans to try to add some context, try to review key plays and keep track of the players. So we hope people think of it as a value added. As far as specific action on the field, the greatest thrill, of course, was being able to webcast the championship game. Now, the playoffs for the Valley League is a best of 3 in 3 rounds. So in 2018, the Newmarket Rebels, with 7 games to play, were 1 game under 500 at 17 and 18. Being able to make the playoffs, you're pretty much the worst record you can get and hope to come in 4th place in the North Division to make the playoffs is 20 and 22. So we were sitting at 17 and 18 with 7 games to play. Well, the Rebels went on a 7-game winning streak and followed that with a sweep through the playoffs. So the team finished with a 13-game winning streak, which I was really pleased to be on the scene to witness that. I don't think in the modern history of the league there's been anything like that, certainly through the championship. So in the championship game, let me set it up a little better for you, because first championship game was August 6, 2018 at Charlottesville, because they had a slightly better regular season record. The Rebels won that game 16-4, even though we left 12 men on base and had 2 guys thrown out at home plate. And their webcaster, Zach Hamilton, said it could have been a lot worse. So I was sharing game 2 here. If the Rebels win, they win the championship at home, August 7th. And we got to the bottom of the 7th inning. Rebels were trailing 5-4. So came to the plate a right-handed batter, Adon Fernandez, who was from Florida International University, who had had some hitting instruction from J.D. Martinez. Now, Adon didn't have a really great strikeout to walks ratio, and he hadn't hit a home run since before the Valley League All-Star game, which comes around game 30 of the season. It's not in the middle, so around game 30 of the 42-game season. He had not hit a home run since then. So Adon Fernandez steps up to the plate, right-handed batter facing Menendez, a right-handed side armor for the Charlottesville Tom Sox. 2 outs, bases loaded. First pitch went to where I was indicating the Mo Weber jersey sign, retired jersey sign is, up in that tree, grand slam, and the score stuck, excuse me, the score stayed that 8-5, won the championship at home. So that'll abide for many years in Rebels family memories. But I want to point out also.
Well, let me interrupt you real
Yeah,
quick, because at the
yeah.
beginning you teased the hit of the decade. Now, is that the hit of the decade right there, or we still have another one?
I know why you've had success in your journalistic career, Erin. So that is the case, and I failed to re-tag it. So that was it.
Okay.
Be hard to, you would say, well, if that wasn't it, what was?
Yeah, I know.
That grand slam, I was hit by Fernandez after instruction by Martinez off of Menendez and making it an all Hispanic affair. So we also have to give credit to Rebels pitching in that victory. They recorded 16 strikeouts. Now, mind you, this is against the defending champion team that had the best regular season record in the league. And our three relief pitchers no-hit the Tom Sox over the final 5 1/3 innings. And to name the guys that did that, Matthew Mercer was 1 1/3 innings with 3 strikeouts. Peyton Millirons, 3 1/3 innings, 8 strikeouts. So Peyton struck out 8 of the 10 batters he faced. And Trevin Eubanks came in as a closer, pitched 2/3 of an inning with a strikeout. So in addition to the great hit from Fernandez, that pitching was obviously essential to our victory. So good for those guys. We'll always remember that. A couple other remarkable incidents at Rebel Park were an inside the park grand slam. And that happened on June 22, 2015 by Nate Blanchard, our second baseman, against Waynesboro. In that same game, Kevin Woodall with a 2-run homer and Thatcher Coleman with a solo job. And just to make it work out as a real storybook memory, there was a fellow from Waynesboro, Michael Brosseau, hit a 3-run homer. So we had, between the two teams, a home run cycle that day. And Brosseau was drafted into the majors. I'm not sure where he is right now.
It's very impressive.
So that was definitely a night to remember. How did that grand slam happen? We can see behind me, as I mentioned earlier, pointing straight ahead, if you will, is due east. Blanchard hit a sinking line drive that the center fielder thought he perhaps could catch, but he didn't really come close to it. It sank quickly. The ground was hard. It bounced over his head and went all the way out to the center field fence. That's how that happened.
Wow.
So you imagine you're trying to beat out a potential inside the park home run. You have to worry that 3 of your teammates ahead of you will maintain adequate speed, that you don't pass any of them on the bases. So, July 3rd last year, 2 Rebels in the same game here hit inside the park home runs. And those guys were David Smith and Blake Ebo. And we don't think that's happened within memory of anybody I talked to in the Valley League around here. 2 inside the park homers by 2 different guys, same team, same day. So those are some of our memorable events here at Rebel Park. And I tell you, for a $5 admission to see good baseball, of course, those plays are kind of rare and spread out, but still, it's one of the great entertainment values, and you see some really good players up close. Let me tell you an anecdote that speaks to character. And you've heard folks like Zach Cole, and that, by the way, that was the 3rd year of Zach Cole's head coaching here for the Rebels, and others in the other podcasts talk about character as well as baseball skills, as factoring in the people they'd like to have on their roster. So that 2018 championship season, then in 2019, I was attending a away game at Woodstock. And it was dark. It was already like 9:30, and I was standing behind home plate between 2 sections of grandstand, focusing on the game. And I looked to my right, and this fellow who I thought I recognized, and I took a second look, indeed, that was Andrew Eister. No information that he was going to be in Woodstock, Virginia, living in Florida. So what Andrew Eister had done is he motored up to, on his way to the Cape Cod League, which starts later than the Valley League. He dropped by Newmarket to visit folks and came to that game and sought me out just to say howdy and give an update. Now that to me speaks a whole lot about character.
Definitely goes in line with Bruce Alger and how he tries to create that family atmosphere there.
Right, exactly. I mean, Andrew's a standout for performance. There have been many, many. I haven't met a Rebel player since in 2014 up close who was unpleasant to talk with. Some are more entertaining than others. Some are more communicative than others, but none of them have been outright unpleasant. Thank goodness. It's been great.
We can't all be as funny as you are. I know you've enjoyed your time there at Newmarket, but in being a part of Summer League Baseball, how have you seen baseball kind of change over the last several years? And how important is it for players to be able to come and play in a Summer League?
Well, let me do the last part first. A college summer league, like the Valley League, with 42 regular season games in 56 days, that intensity and pace is pretty stressful for folks that are generally used to a long weekend back in college of engagements with their opponents. So there's a stamina part. Using the wooden bat is significant. That's what you're going to use in the minor leagues and the bigs. And by the way, I can't stand the sound of the composite bat. I tolerate it, but to me, it's like fingernails on the blackboard. But all that aside, the pace of the summer league here, the fact that you're facing opponents from many schools or many styles that you haven't encountered even in your own conference, whether you're coming out of the ACC or the SEC, what have you. You have a mix of players here, as we previously discussed, JUCO up to D1, from a wide geographic area, almost always east of the Mississippi, sometimes west of the Mississippi. So the experience of playing against those opponents is especially valuable. And learning about the community. All of the towns that host or homes to Valley League teams are smallish. A couple exceptions might be Harrisonburg, Virginia, and Charlottesville, and Winchester. But it's still a different setting for a lot of these players. So I think all those help them along their pathway toward the majors. The changes, the pitch count limitation, which the NCAA imposed, I guess, a couple of years ago, has severely impacted the even win-loss record, which, by the way, is one of the more meaningless pitching statistics. I'd much rather know about ERAs and whips and strikeouts per 9 innings. But it's rare now. It's the minority of outings where a starting pitcher will go past 4 innings. Of course, they have to do 5 to get in the record. So that is an aspect of it. The other aspects, I haven't seen a lot of change, but there's certainly change on the horizon. What was happening with the major leagues' approach to really cutting back on the number of minor league teams and the draft. To have only 5 rounds of the draft this year, which is extraordinary probably because of the pandemic. But nevertheless, I am worried about the opportunities as we go along down the road for these players. Another observation, if I might offer, is how really difficult it is to do really well in baseball. I mean, we've seen persons like Andrew Eister here, who may or may not be drafted. We certainly think he deserves to be drafted. But I've seen other performers, hitters, hit 400 or above with really good on-base percentages, pitchers with low 200 ERAs and really good whips who might not get drafted, and then to go up the ranks in the minor leagues. So the difficulty of progressing into professional baseball, even with a really good skill set, is what always strikes me during the season and after.
Earlier this week, you shared with me some nuances in baseball terminology. So I'm going to throw a curveball at you and see if you can, go back and tell some of those stories, maybe about the hit and run, some other things that you think might need to be changed terminology-wise.
Thank you, Erin. I think we've established that we're both left-handers. So I'm going to try to pick up the spin on your pitch and see what it might do. So I am very particular about, I guess, three pieces of terminology I use in my webcasting. Two have to do with the field, and the other has to do with where we're located now. But as I said in the intro, the distances at Rebel Park is 322 feet down each fair line. Well, because if the ball hits that or the pole that's vertical on that fence, it's fair. So it's more like tennis and soccer. If the ball touches that, it's still in play, as opposed to football and basketball. So my interns have to have an oral agreement with me that they will use fair line and fair pole. And then when there's runners on and batter is there, there's a special play that's put on in baseball, regardless of whether there's a stolen base in mind. But aside from a stolen base attempt, the runner takes off before the hitter swings the bat, and it's routinely described as the hit and run play. Well, the sequence of events is run and hit. So I've heard a few major league announcers both use fair pull once in a while and run and hit, but not as much lately. So my interns have to agree to that, and they agree and they use it because that's the sequence. The normal circumstance is the runner doesn't take off until he thinks that it might be a fair ball or a chance of being a hit. And then the other one is the structure that we see at almost every ballpark, where the public address announcer works, the official scorekeeper, the scoreboard operator, and lots of times social media folks. And it's called the press box. Well, I will tell you here, we haven't seen print journalists here for quite a while because of newspaper deadlines now and what have you. So my term is Game Information Center. So I'm going to put up a petition on my Facebook page. Anybody would like to sign that we start calling it the Game Information Center. But thanks for bringing to those points, Erin. And speaking of finer points or terminology, I forgot, I'm not a bling guy. I think you can tell on camera, but I did want to share my one blingy thing that I recently got was the championship ring.
Yeah, I got to see that.
So that was very nice and well designed, and it's a lifelong keepsake. I don't wear it that often, only on special occasions like interviews on VBL podcasts.
Perfect. And as you were mentioning the Game Information Center, you called where you're at right now the web deck, which would go in hand with that.
Yes, we're right next door. Back in the days, maybe before Austin Gisriel and Charlie Dodge were doing the webcasting, they wanted to see the best scene of the game. We're outdoors, so vulnerable to weather, and we do have a scamper drill when we have to retreat in case of storms. But as you can see behind me, one couldn't get a better view of the action on the field at Rebel Park. So.
Dennis, you are so full of information, and I know there is a lot more out there about the Rebels. Where can fans go to learn even more and see some of your work that you've done?
Well, thanks, Erin. That's great. And it certainly is not just my work, although we do have oodles of Facebook Live videos up on the website. But there's a lot more. So I want to encourage people to visit our Facebook page. It's just New Market Rebels, and give a shout out to the woman who is the main administrator for that Facebook page, Anna Kipps Lawrence. You will find updates on our players, just like John Leonard follows players throughout the league and his famous All Things Valley League. Anna does a great job of finding out where Rebels are now, including one of our former Rebels who's now working in the space program. He's a space travel kind of researcher guy. So please do that. We also have a good Facebook page, which was enhanced by last year's coach, the design. Matt Schaefer did a redesign on that. And by the way, Anna's brother, Andrew Kipps, manages our webpage, so we get more in-depth history. So also when the NCAA canceled the baseball season, the spring season, round about, I think, March 11, 12, around that time, and then Major League Baseball canceled spring training, it occurred to me that real baseball fans would probably experience some baseball withdrawal. So I went ahead and put up a Rebels Rewind series. I picked 12 memorable games, mostly 18 and 19. You won't be surprised, the leadoff is the 2018 championship game with the all-Hispanic Grand Slam, so to speak, and our great pitching performance, but also 11 other games. And you'll scroll down, that starts on March 15, so Rebels Rewind. They have extensive narrative there, explaining the importance of the game and cueing the viewer into the time marks as to where these special events happen. We also have a Twitter account if you want to follow that. So I appreciate the opportunity to do this with you, with the VBL 2020 Rewind podcast series, and appreciate the opportunity to let people know how to find more about the Rebels. And this is a poor substitute, but an adequate substitute to actually seeing games here. And I was happy to be able to do it from the broadcasting web deck at Rebel Park.
Well, I appreciate the time so much. I enjoy getting to know a little bit more about you, about the Rebels and the park there. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we put a bow tie on this one?
Thank you, Erin. I used to know how to tie a bow tie. I could do it again quickly. So I have a clip on at home. So I just wanted to reemphasize the keys to what I think are success for these community-based teams. Obviously, it's to have their relationship with the community. I mean, Newmarket's official population is 2,300 souls. So it takes an extraordinary effort among the host family folks, the advertisers, and the excellent community relations. Of course, it draws from an area that's wider than just the town of Newmarket. But not-for-profit, volunteer-supported community baseball is really what connects baseball to the fans, I think, at an early age, too. I mean, the little leaguers in this area that come here and enter the instructional schools that the coaches and players do. We have baseball camps here during the summer. The players read to youth at our local libraries. And so I think that's very special, and I hope it can survive whatever shakeups are going on with the major leagues rippling down through the minor leagues. And also, I might offer an observation about inconsistency is the most consistent aspect of Valley League baseball. That's shown in the fact that our playoff seeding really does not predict their success in the playoffs. You heard on another podcast with Zach Cole, who was at Waynesboro last year, had the best record in the league, and they went out in the first round of the playoffs. So often the 3-4 seeds will prevail over the 1-2 seeds. And so that's just part of the aspect of Valley League baseball. And on a day in 2018, the Rebels had a doubleheader here with the Strasburg Express, won the first game 15-5 with 20 hits in 7 innings. Next game started 30 minutes later, and we lost 8-3. So you got to stay tuned to what's going on. A team can have a 6-game winning streak and turn around and have a 5-game losing streak. So that makes it extra exciting and sometimes frustrating for folks. So the unpredictability in the Valley League is one of its aspects. So thank you.
Of course, we are all looking forward to seeing some more of that unpredictable baseball in the Valley League, hopefully next summer, and listening to your calls again in 2021. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you again, Erin. It's been a great pleasure.
All right, baseball fans, that's going to do it for us tonight. We sure hope you've enjoyed this video podcast and enjoyed getting a chance to get to know and meet Dennis Atwood. He is an avid baseball fan and would love to talk to baseball anytime. Anyway, really appreciate his time. We appreciate Erin's efforts in tracking him down and getting all this great information from him. So just a reminder, join us tomorrow night for the 2019 Valley League All-Star Game, followed on Wednesday by the 2019 Showcase Game 1. And the same thing's going to happen on Thursday, except for it's going to be Game 2. We've said it before, and we're going to say it again. We wish you all perfect health, and we wish you all a speedy return to the baseball diamond. Until next time, I'm Graham Knight for the Valley League. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again, same time, same YouTube channel. Good night, everyone.